What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Breakdown Sportscast. I am your host, Kory Willis. I hope everyone is doing well. Hope you had a great Labor Day weekend. Got to spend it with friends, family, food, and most importantly, some college football. So, I hope everyone had a great weekend. If you're listening in to the show, we appreciate you listening in. We are on multiple podcast applications, of course, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're now on YouTube now, so if you're on YouTube, you can listen to the show there. Amazon Music and Amazon Audible, iHeartRadio, and many other platforms. So if you're on those platforms and you're listening in on the show, we very much appreciate it. I'm here with my good friend, co-host, Chris Bolton. What's going on, Chris?
What's good? Doing well. Got week one in the books.
Yes.
You know, it was a good weekend. Like you said, man, appreciate everybody tuning in. If there's anywhere you can listen, we got you, as Kory just listed off. So be sure. Appreciate you checking us out. But yeah, man, I'm doing great. Just put the bow on the first real weekend of college football. You know, the other one was a teaser. This was the real one.
Exactly.
So,
you know when you go to those restaurants and they have like those little pastries and you know, like just a little piece of steak and a leaf. That was week 0.
Right.
You know, week 1, you know, we had a big steak, we had baked potatoes.
Oh no, we had the spread, baby. We was outside with the grill, you know what I'm saying, smoking it up.
Exactly.
This is the weekend. It's only going to get even better.
Exactly.
We're gonna have some potato salad, baked beans, and all that.
We had the whole course. I had the whole course meal. Like
Yes,
you wasn't gonna go hungry after the week 1. We wasn't gonna do that.
It's gonna get even better week 2. We gonna have a boil too. We gonna be grilling, and we're gonna have a crawfish boil. We gonna have it all.
It just keeps going. It just keeps going.
We gotta take it to another level.
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly. So it was a very successful week 1. We had a lot of great games. Man, I have to say, you know, we've had plenty of week 1s in the past that have been fun. But I have to say, Chris, like this week 1 was exceptional to me. Like you had great games all across the board.
It was spectacular for sure, man. We came out the gates hot.
Yes.
At noon Eastern.
Oh my God.
11 Central.
Woo.
We came out the gates hot on Fox with Colorado.
I know. It. Do you want to just start with that game? I know
we can
the
just
sheet.
go ahead and get into it, man. We really can.
Yeah.
That game really set the tone for the weekend, and that was a tough act to follow. I mean, that was a great, exceptional game.
Absolutely. So I guess we'll go ahead and get into it because, my goodness, what a game. So the Colorado Buffaloes. You know, Deion Sanders is now the head coach of the Colorado
Prime,
Buffaloes.
baby. This was
Prime time.
highly anticipated.
Highly anticipated game. Took that team that was, they only won one game last year?
One game last year, and I believe they had 68 new scholarship players.
Yes. That is... I've never heard that many transfers before in my entire life. But yes, Primetime took his brand new team, the Colorado Buffaloes, down to Fort Worth, Texas, Chris, and took on the Horned Frogs of TCU. Defeated them 45-42.
The national runner-ups of last year's college football season.
Yeah, this is not a team. They were ranked 17th preseason by AP. That's crazy. And Colorado goes down there, takes care of business. Shedeur Sanders which, was a great player in his own right at Jackson State. And I know, him coming along with his dad brought a lot of topics by other media pundits, of course. Can he fit in FBS? Can he actually hang around, this top talent? When not knowing, or maybe they knew, they just didn't really want to, own up to it. Like, Shedeur Sanders was an ESPN 400 guy as well. Like, he was a top player in the country as well. So I don't know where all of this, can he hang?
Well, we do, because he went to an HBCU.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that plain and simple. That's why.
Yeah, I just think overall it's just, very naive to mention that, because, that's good football, as I always say, in the HBCU leagues.
Some of the best have come from HBCUs.
Exactly. And
Jerry Wright, greatest receiver we've ever seen play football.
Right.
And Steve Aaron McNair, Alcorn State. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Exactly. It's crazy to hear, all of that dialogue. But, nonetheless, Shedeur Sanders, he had a great game. He was 38 for 47, 510 yards, Chris, 4 touchdowns, no picks.
And honestly, could have had nearly 600 yards because there were some deep shots that the guys failed to bring in, and Shedeur put it on the money.
Yeah.
There were some plays, there were some 30-yard, 40-yard bombs they couldn't complete. He could have easily had 580, 590, 600 yards for the game.
Exactly. That's how scary that performance was. Is that man was on fire the whole game. Nothing fazed him. I think he got sacked at least once, maybe once or twice. But
I think maybe twice.
Yeah, that was it. His offensive line did their jobs. Everyone did their jobs. Like, they played lights out. And don't get me started on Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter is a freak of nature.
Oh my God, that pick.
He showed why. He talked about highly recruited, highly talented guys. He showed why he was one of the premier prospects in the nation when he was coming out of high school.
Yeah, I totally agree. And people saw it firsthand why Deion wanted him at Jackson State. And once Deion left Jackson State, why Travis Hunter wanted to stay along the ride with Prime. This is why. He trusts Prime to help him be the best player that he can be. And it showed.
Yeah. Played over 100 snaps in the Texas Heat. Game 1, where notoriously people are just dropping like flies, catching cramps. You're not normally ready for what the level of play that you're going to experience in game 1. And these are people that normally play this one side of the ball.
Yeah.
He's out here playing both sides.
That's crazy.
And not only is he playing on both sides, he's making exceptional plays too. Had over 100 yards receiving. One of 4 wide receivers on that Colorado, 4 players on the Colorado team to get over 100 receiving yards. And also, that interception he had in the end zone when TCU was about to score. I don't think any other cornerback in the country makes that play. I think he's the lone corner in the country in college football that makes that play. The running back was going out in the flat. He was open. That play was well executed, well designed. He was open. That just was pure instinct, pure talent that we saw in that moment where he jumped that route, got off his receiver, and just jumped the open man and made a play. That's special stuff. Yeah. And I hope the world appreciates that play and what he did.
Yeah, absolutely. Like those are the kinds of plays that puts you in the Heisman, Chris. like flat out. And for Shedeur, those are the kinds of performances that also puts you in the Heisman.
It's crazy. It's
So,
crazy. Sure.
like, I feel like if this duo performs like that every single game, there's no question they have to both be a part of the Heisman, process. By the time we
Mm-hmm.
hit December, they should both be in New York. And if
For
they're
sure.
not, what are we doing?
For sure. For sure. They put on a show. They did a great job. I want to also give credit to Coach Prime, his staff, and his offensive coordinator, Sean Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the way this offense was clicking, that looked like a team that this isn't their first season together at Colorado.
Not at all.
That didn't like offense's first time being together, with all the new players and everything on that stage, and to put up 45 points, and they still left some money on the table.
Yeah.
There was some drives where they did kind of stall out after getting downfield,
Mm-hmm.
where they could have had, like I said, there was some big plays, some shot plays where I'm sure that they probably was hell us.
Mm-hmm.
We should have executed and caught those passes.
Absolutely.
So there's still more to be had, and that's insane to say.
Mm-hmm.
But for that team to have moved the ball, constantly getting positive yardage, you rarely had them in situations where they were in a third and long. It was
Right.
always third and manageable.
Mm-hmm.
And the offense kept moving and positively in the right direction. And that is saying something for a team, for this brand new team to come together and to execute like they did on that stage against the national runner-ups.
Mm-hmm.
So huge credit to the staff and to the players, and the work they put in this offseason definitely showed on Saturday.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great performance by them. Primetime knows, and I know he had talked about his whole post game presser of do you believe now? I think a lot of people believe now. I think a lot of people believe now. And if you're a recruit, yeah, you're seeing it firsthand. I believe.
We have to believe. We have to believe. So let's talk about Coach Prime. There's been so much hype, and so much talk about, can he handle this? What will Colorado look like? What will their record possibly be? Just, everybody trying to gauge the outlook of this team this season is going to be all, it's one thing you do it at Jackson State. Can you do it at Colorado?
Right.
And for him and his team to come out here and do this game one, man, that's really saying something. I don't know about you. How many of those guys do you feel like on Colorado will play on Sundays? I thought we saw some Sunday players. I think we have some real Sunday talent
Yeah.
on that Colorado team.
I think because the offensive line played so well, I think you'll see a guy or two definitely get some looks now after that game, just by the way that they protected Shedeur. The defense, I think there are a couple of guys on that defensive side of the ball that's also going to get their looks.
Woods,
Yeah.
great athlete.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think he's going to get a look. Of course, like Travis and Shiloh, he's probably also going to be a guy as well,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to get some looks too. But yeah,
I mean, you got
overall,
Travis. You have Jimmy Horn Jr.
yes,
He played exceptionally well. 11 receptions, 117 yards. Xavier Weaver, 6 receptions, 118 yards.
hmm
And then Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards is going to be playing on Sundays.
That guy is a monster. like, get ready, Pac-12 or Pac-2, as we should say.
True
Get
freshman.
ready. Yeah, this guy, he looks the part. Very tough, very physical.
And has
I think
breakaway
he's gonna be
speed.
great. Yeah,
That 4th and 2, when he caught that pass in the flat and then just turned upfield,
I know.
I knew he was going to get the first down. I didn't know that was going to turn into a touchdown, though.
Yeah, he had a remarkable performance. They got some dudes.
They got some dudes.
Colorado has some dudes.
That's for sure. I think we can safely say that. And I'm curious to what you think their outlook for the rest of the season, how it shapes up. With a win like this, it now gets a little interesting to kind of try to predict, like if we look at the schedule, what their ultimate record can be now with a win like this.
Yes, let me go ahead and pull it up.
Because I have the schedule pulled up myself.
Okay.
So they take on Matt Rule, Coach Rule in Nebraska this weekend.
Yes.
That's going to be a home opener for them. Then next week, in-state rival Colorado State comes to town. That game is going to be on ESPN at 10 o'clock. Then they go to the Autzen Zoo. So I feel like they should win the next 2 games.
I think so too.
So I think you potentially, we have a top 25 matchup with Colorado taking on Oregon at Oregon. That's going to be a fun one.
That's going to be a fun.
That's going to be a fun game. I have to be watching that one. And then the next weekend, you welcome USC to town. Shador against Caleb Williams.
You know what? If game day isn't, if they're not in Boulder,
if they win, that's if game day doesn't already go to the Colorado Oregon game. We'll need to see what the matchups look like for that weekend. But for sure, if Colorado comes out of that Oregon game and they are 4-0 and they beat Oregon on the road, you got 2 top 25 wins under your belt on the road. That USC Colorado game is going to be like number 5 versus number 12, number 11. I mean, it's going to be a top 12 matchup, I feel like.
I think so too. I think that game is going to be a very, very big game for both teams, but for the country, it's going to show a lot of talent. It's going to test Colorado big time, and I can't wait to see it.
So I think the Oregon and USC games, if they can come out of those 1-1, if they can split those, this team is you're cooking for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
You can split those games, because then after that, you take on, let's just say you beat Oregon, lose to USC. So at that point, you're 4-1.
Right.
You take on Arizona State. I feel like they should beat Arizona State. You take on Stanford.
I think they'll be fine.
That'll be fine. So that's 6-1 now. And you take on UCLA. UCLA lost a lot from last year's team.
Yeah.
They lost some NFL guys. So you potentially are 7-1, and you welcome Oregon State to Boulder.
Yeah.
Oregon State's a good team.
They are.
But at least you're at home for that game. And you know it's going to be sold out. Every home game in Colorado is going to be sold out this year.
Yeah.
You have the home field advantage. I don't know. I kind of lean after seeing both schools look like. I kind of lean towards Colorado in this one.
I think so too. you said it best. If they can either split or somehow they beat Oregon and they beat USC.
You're a top 5 team in the nation.
You're a top 5 team in the nation, and probably the only 2 games that, of course, every other game will be a test for them, but like the big games, I'd say is Oregon State and Utah.
And Utah, you don't have to travel to Utah to close the regular season. That's going. If they mess around and they come into that matchup undefeated or just 1 loss, that place is going to be rocking. This is shaping up to possibly be a big year 1 for Coach Prime.
Absolutely.
And if they mess around, I don't know, man. If they mess around and finish top 10, I don't know how long he's going to be at Colorado.
I look with some of the team's performances over the weekend. Who knows at this point? Like, like I said, man. Chris, do you believe? Do you believe?
I believe. We saw some special players. We saw some guys that I'm telling you, they will be playing. We'll be drafting them in fantasy football in a few years. So
absolutely.
When you have high-end talent like that, it's college football at the end of the day. All the players are exceptional and talented, but when you have guys who are a level above others, that can make up for having average players throughout the rest of the roster or whatever. When you have special guys that can just do something that only they can do on the field. Right. I feel like you have that with guys like Shedeur, Travis, and Edwards. I feel like those 3 are really special talents, and it looks like the coaching staff is on their game too. Mm-hmm. So when you combine those 2, man, what MJ say? The ceiling is the roof.
Yep.
So we'll see.
Let's get to the roof. Better yet, let's break the roof. So I was very pleased with what I saw with Colorado over the weekend. Great game by both teams. They played their hearts out, and I still think TCU, while they did lose a lot of people, I think they're still going to be competitive too in the Big 12. So
for sure. These are 2 very good teams. That's why the game is so great. There's what I'm saying. No reason for TCU. They might be down on TCU. They'll still have a great season because the running back they have, he's a bad boy. He was the top running back in the nation, I believe, coming out of high school. Mm-hmm. Then suffered some injuries at Alabama before ultimately coming to TCU this season. Mm-hmm. He had a great game too. Let me see what his stats were.
Imani Bailey.
It was Trey Sanders. Oh, Sanders had 3 touchdowns.
Oh yeah.
So
46 yards, 3 touchdowns. He still had 15 carries. So overall, a good outing for him.
For sure. So yeah, both teams we definitely will be keeping our eyes out for as the season continues.
Absolutely.
Great game. What you got next on the docket for us? We're trying to hit on.
Oh my God.
The Sunday night.
Hey, let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and do it. So folks, if you were watching that Sunday game, over in Camping World Stadium, we had Florida State taking on LSU. LSU was a 2-point favorite in that game. A lot of people were excited, myself included. Even Chris was excited. We thought it was going to be a competitive matchup, but
it was initially. So
in the end, Florida State took care of their lightweight, which was LSU. So yeah, not what we expected. As I'm pulling up the score, yeah, 45-24 was the score. Florida State defeated the Tigers. Jordan Travis, who I know we were talking on Twitter Spaces, now known as X Spaces, I guess, before all of the games of the day. I meant to mention Jordan Travis and just his confidence leading into this game. He has definitely taken over that team. They respect this guy as a leader, and it showed in this game. He had a great day.
5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Took off an interception, a bad interception. Just timing was off between him and the receiver. It was just like a screen pass. He initially pumped it. Mm-hmm. Anytime you pump fake at a wide receiver screen, then you throw it. It doesn't normally end well. But he shook off that interception and played good football. This Florida State team, they have some dogs. Like we talked about Sunday players, they are loaded with them as well.
Absolutely. Keon Coleman, gosh, this guy is amazing. I saw him catch some passes that were just very Travis Hunter-like.
Yeah, man. He put himself on the map for sure. I mean, we knew Florida State cleaned up, and they did well when it came to the transfer portal as well. Mm-hmm. They picked up some high-quality guys. And, boy, Coleman's he's a dog. Yeah. He looks every bit of a first-round draft pick.
Absolutely. 6'4", 215. Yeah, that's
high point ball. Yeah.
I know he had 9 receptions, 122 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And yeah, a couple of those receptions were just him hey, just go up and get it. A word. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he just snags.
Go make a play, son. That ain't that what the coach would say. Go make a play.
Go make a play. Like that's literally him. But yeah, I very much enjoyed his performance. But Jordan Travis, what can you say? He looked very calm in that pocket. I mean, he's also a pretty decent runner as well. So, when he does have to scramble for some yards and keep plays alive, he's going to do it for you. So, I was very pleased with his performance. Yeah, he was 23 for 31, 342 yards, 4 touchdowns, and that pick that you had mentioned earlier. So yeah, Florida State, great performance by them. If you are the Tigers of LSU, you're Brian Kelly, you are looking at your team and you're looking at yourself and you're like, maybe we didn't prepare for these guys as much. Maybe we were kind of sleepwalking and thinking about, everything that we did last year. You can't do that. You have to be prepared, and they did not show it.
They have a lot to clean up. We just hit on Colorado looking so clean and crisp for game 1 of the season. It was the opposite for LSU. This was a team that so many drops. Drops on, really, actually, both teams had a lot of drops. But, man, there was so many drops. And we knew last year, Neighbors, how he had his struggles on special teams, muffing the punts in last year's game against Florida State. LSU had another muffed punt in this one that set Florida State up. It's just mistakes like that you can't have in a top 10 matchup in a game like this. costly mistakes, costly errors, and a lot of blown opportunities. Florida State had four down stands, goal line stand early in the game that really set the tone, punched LSU back in the mouth after the Tigers drove the ball downfield. Florida State bucked up and kept them from scoring early on. And it's opportunities like that where LSU did not convert some fourth downs. They come back to bite you. And so when you don't get the points, when you leave points on the field and you leave 10 points here or 2 touchdowns on the field, that makes the world of a difference in a game where ultimately Florida State got hot in the second half, asserted their dominance, and went on to win by 21 points. Could have been a completely different ball game if you take advantage early and you score those 2 touchdowns or whatever, and you jump ahead and you really put the pressure on Florida State to answer back. But when you don't convert, and then the other team on the other side of the field, they convert their big plays, now you really feel it. And we saw LSU fold. Honestly, that's what we saw. They folded that second half, especially the fourth quarter. They folded.
Yeah. And I know I was listening to some people down in the Bayou talk about the game and just how the team just quit. And you can tell that. I went back and watched highlights from the game. They looked like they quit. And this is LSU. You're not supposed to quit for any reason. And you could just see it in real time. They were like, we cannot beat these guys. They're too fast for us. They're too physical for us.
That's really what it was.
We're tapping out.
Physicality. Florida State brought the physicality to LSU. Both teams extremely fast. I mean, we're talking about 2 of the top programs when it comes to recruiting in the nation. There's never going to be a year LSU doesn't have athletes. And Florida State has speed across the boards themselves. So 2 fast teams, but it was Florida State that was bringing that punch that was hitting LSU in the mouth. And LSU didn't answer back. And that's concerning.
It is.
That's concerning. Because you play in the SEC. Everybody's going to bring it.
I know. There's no time to be, concerned about, well, we can't do this, we can't do that. Like, you better do something. Like, where you are in a league with Alabama and, Ole Miss and, Georgia and, A&M, we'll see what happens with them. Mississippi State seems to be, playing some pretty good football under Zach Arnett right now. So, there's no time to put your foot off the gas pedal. You need to figure out how to get this ship sailing, because things, just like we've seen with other teams in the past in the SEC, things can go down very, very quick.
For sure. I don't want to overreact when it comes to LSU. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, they're going 8-4 the rest of the season or something like that, or 7-5 is coming. But
just one game. They got a whole
just one game, but we need to see this team get punched in the mouth and answer back again. It didn't sit well seeing them kind of fold in that fourth quarter. But like I said earlier, a lot of it is if they just clean up some things, if they catch the passes, if Daniels continues to make the right reads and just take what's there and let his athletes cook, just different things like that, LSU will be fine. Man, yeah, but I'm very curious to see how things continue. I think they'll be fine moving forward, but Sunday was tough to watch if you're an LSU fan.
Absolutely. And yeah, like piggybacking off of what you said, if you're an LSU fan, there's still a lot to play for. It's just week 1. But I can understand the frustration.
You can still win out.
Yeah.
And who's worried about week 1 if you win out and you have a chance to be in the college football playoff?
Absolutely. Who cares? That's just one mulligan. Look what else that we did. We beat everybody else that we had on our schedule. We went to the SEC championship.
Look at last year.
Yeah,
they lost the Florida State game. They just stopped them from beating Alabama. So
exactly.
there's still a lot on the table for everything that LSU wants to achieve is still on the table.
Absolutely. So, that was pretty much the Florida State LSU game in a nutshell. Different trajectories, I'd say, with both teams. It's just the first week of the season, so we'll definitely get to see how everything progresses with both teams.
For sure.
In the future, so yeah.
Maybe who knows? Maybe we'll get this matchup even more down the future.
Hey, maybe so.
With the way the college sports landscape is now, maybe this might end up being a conference game some years later.
I know.
We will see.
They'll go to SEC Commissioner Sankey and be like, Florida State will be like, we're the top Florida team in the state of Florida, right? Why don't we just do a little switcheroo right quick, Get those Florida guys out of here. We can bring some competitiveness.
We will see. But shout out to Coach Norvell on getting that win.
Yeah.
He look. I'm joking, y'all, but look, he saw Coach Prime get that win Saturday. Said, "Y'all, you ain't getting this yet, my boy. You ain't getting this one just yet. We gonna take care of business." And that's what they did.
Is Norvell teasing the bowl game between him and Prime? Because I would love to see that.
If that bowl matchup happens, oh boy. We need that. We need that.
I know. The college football streets need that, Chris.
Colorado and FSU to meet up in the bowl game. That'd be crazy.
Oh man, for sure.
But big win to the Seminoles. Shout out to them. And speaking of the ACC, one of their conference members. Another ACC team took care of business against an SEC team.
Yes. Yes, they did. So the next game that we are going to talk about is the Duke's Mayo Classic, Chris. North Carolina taking on South Carolina. It was a big game, of course. Game day was down in Charlotte, North Carolina. I think when we were talking about it over the weekend, it may have been the LSU Florida State game, but we did have our thoughts about it, of course.
We did talk about we did hit on Drake May, Spencer Rattler, two talented QBs facing off against each other, and the coaching battle as well, and. I like North Carolina going into this game. I think, were you rolling with North Carolina as well in this one?
Hey, if I can remember, I think I had South Carolina just edging out North Carolina in the game.
But yeah, man, this was a good win for North Carolina.
Yeah, 31-17.
31-17, that's right. I believe Coach Mac Brown picks up his 100th win as head coach at North Carolina.
That sounds like that was the talk of the day after
If
that
I'm not
game.
mistaken, I believe he's the first North Carolina football coach
Yeah.
to get to 100 wins. If I'm not mistaken,
So,
um, I think he might also be the only active coach with 100 career wins at two different programs. He has at least 100 wins at Texas and now 100 wins at North Carolina.
yes. So you are right. Mac Brown becomes first coach in the FBS history to win 100 games at multiple programs. So yeah.
Shout out to Coach Brown.
Yeah, that's some big history to make right there. So yeah, congrats to Mac Brown on getting those 100 wins for North Carolina.
I'm curious on your thoughts on the game, on how things played out. You know, there's a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. North Carolina, they missing one of their key receivers. The transfer from Kent State,
Mm-hmm.
he's still waiting to be ruled eligible to play for them this season. He has a hearing, I believe, Thursday, to where they'll get some more clarity on his situation. But North Carolina was without one of their top receivers, and South Carolina, they trying to replace Jaheim Bell, who we saw play with Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
They're very talented tight end who went on to go to the Seminoles. We were very curious to see how South Carolina looks because they've been talking about having more playmakers, a lot of hype, a lot of momentum coming out of last year, beating Tennessee, beating Kentucky, beating Clemson. So I'm curious, just what were your thoughts on the matchup?
Going into this game, I thought that both teams. I did have thoughts that the game was going to be more defensive. Than it was going to be more tailored to the defensive side of the ball than what I originally,
Then how things played out.
Yeah, that how things had played out. I thought it was going to be more on the defensive side of the ball, but what struck me was South Carolina's like they had a lot of issues with blocking for Spencer Rattler, and so that was concerning for me because he got sacked like multiple times in that game, and
even more hurries, more rushes.
Yeah, the guy was running for his life a lot of times in that game, and that really was eye opening for me because I thought these issues were hashed out over the summer and everything. And South Carolina had a pretty good recruiting class. So I thought that the depth at offensive line was going to show in this game. But from what I saw, that did not happen. So
if they keep blocking like this, you might see some of those guys from that recruiting class get a chance a little sooner.
I know, like, yeah, you're Shane Beamer right now. I'm looking at the list right now and be like, who did I recruit? Who can I put in? All right, let's get you some reps right now.
Yeah, North Carolina brought a good scheme. You could see some good fakes, some good designs with their rushes by their defensive coordinator, showing pressure one way, overloading on another side. And it doesn't matter if you have all the guys back there to block. If you can't, call the key and call out, where the pressure's coming from, you're gonna be in trouble.
Absolutely.
And
they did it all night.
Yeah. So definitely big ups to North Carolina on their scheme. Drake May, man, he made some plays where he he put the ball on the money, but also there was some high level, high IQ plays he made as a quarterback. Or I feel like one play he scrambled out and kept the play going, held the ball just for another count for his receiver to get open, then threw the ball to him, and it ended up being a passing interference.
Yeah,
And
I remember that play.
yeah, it was a very heady play
Mm-hmm.
where, in the most QBs, I feel like it would have been a sack.
Right.
But he extended that play long enough to throw the ball downfield and draw a pass interference.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's plays like that I really like, 'cause that just shows me he really has control of this offense and is really locked into the game as a quarterback. When you're making those smart plays, where you're making something that really shouldn't be there happen.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something that I really like that I saw from him and can really carry this North Carolina team, take them very far this season if he continues to do so, and speaks to the talent, the pro talent he is. That there's a reason people are saying he can very well be a top 5 pick in his upcoming draft. It's because of plays like that. He has the arm talent, but now also does he has in the athleticism too, because he has some wheels. But he also is a very smart player, and I saw that on display in that game, and I was very impressed with how he played.
Yeah, me as well. I was very pleased with just his demeanor. He looks like a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
In that backfield calling plays, and you need guys like that to reach the playoffs, to get to good bowl games, and to showcase your skills to NFL scouts. And Drake May is one of those guys, and him and his team really showcased that over the weekend. So yeah, I was very pleased with how the way Drake May had played in the game, and like you had mentioned, like the defense. That defense was, man. That defense really went after Spencer Rattler. Like,
They did. They did. I've seen some bad offensive line play watching Kentucky play football last season.
yeah.
The offensive line they had,
Mm-hmm.
it's like Kentucky and South Carolina traded offensive lines. That
I know. It was just so eye opening that looking at how that offensive line for South Carolina played, it was just so bad. I'm kind of concerned, on that side of the football right now for South Carolina, because if you can't protect Spencer Rattler, you're going to have some problems in the SEC. And as for North Carolina, if their defense keeps playing like that, very aggressive, they're going to make some waves.
they'll have a chance to win any game they're in if their defense plays like that.
Yeah.
And then you have a premier QB too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we saw what a premier QB can do for a team with our own eyes, being at Mississippi State. The 2015 season, the year right after the big 2014 breakout year.
Mm-hmm.
2015 was a Mississippi State team that was doubted. Lost a lot of players from that 14 squad, but you brought back Dak.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a quarterback, like Dak did, like Dak was, he carried that team to, I believe, 9 wins that year.
Yeah, 9 wins.
It was a
pretty
good team. Yeah, good team. A very good season after coming off of one of the best in school history, where you lost so many players.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people kind of doubted you, but this North Carolina team with Drake May, who's even higher talented quarterback talent, they can be in every game this year. And looking at the schedule, they have the fortune of not playing Florida State. unless they meet up in the ACC championship game.
That's very interesting.
Looking at the schedule, you play App State next, Minnesota, who we saw get a tough close win against Nebraska.
Yeah.
That can be an interesting game, but I still would take North Carolina in that matchup just because of the offensive firepower they have and the way they were able to run the football too. It wasn't just like Drake May was just passing. They really controlled the line of scrimmage. They ran the ball very well.
They did. They did.
You face Pitt. You go to Pitt. You welcome Syracuse to town.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome Miami to town. That could be an interesting game. We'll see how Miami looks after we talk about them here pretty soon. In a matchup this week.
Taking on A&M.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have welcome to Virginia to town. You go to Georgia Tech. You bring Campbell to town. You bring Duke to town. Then to close the season, you go to Clemson and at NC State.
Yeah, which is, pretty much your two biggest games of the year. Looking at this schedule,
potentially they can enter those games with undefeated, but probably maybe more than likely we'll see one loss. But who knows, man? The schedule looks solid for them.
It does. It does. I'd say every game except those last two games are very manageable.
Very manageable, for sure. You're feeling good in all those games, especially with the defense you have and the quarterback you have. You're confident you can win every one of those.
Yep. I agree. So, we'll see what happens.
What do you think about South Carolina? Do we want to look at their schedule? Because
let's do that.